This is Abigail, just in case you don't recognize me. This is my first video, my first vlog post, and I know it's awful because I have a horrible webcam and a horrible microphone, but bear with me because it's going to get better from here because I'm trying something new and I'm not afraid to fail. And you know why? You know why I'm not afraid to fail? Because I am learning something. I'm learning something exciting and I want to share it with you guys just in case there's someone out there like me who can learn something from this. This is my experience. When I was a little girl, little girl, I was somewhat OCD. More C than O, but it was still a disorder. So anyway, I was in the habit of asking permission for everything. That was one of my quirks. I had to ask permission. I would ask permission to get a cup of water in my own home. I would ask permission to go inside rooms, like normal rooms in the house. I don't know. I asked permission for the weirdest things. And I had the idea that I had to be perfect. Every time I learned something that you were supposed to do, I had to do it from then on. I had to be perfect at it, too. I couldn't make mistakes. One thing was that I had to color inside the lines. And it's a very vivid metaphor here. I would be crayoning in coloring books with my dad, and I would color outside the lines, and he was coloring inside the lines, and I looked at mine and I looked at him, and I actually cried because I wasn't coloring neatly inside the lines. I couldn't control my crayon. So my dad actually colored outside the lines for me. It's a very vivid metaphor. I was so obsessed with coloring inside the lines because that was the right way to color, right? The right way to color. My dad tried to show me that even grown-ups mess up. It's okay. I didn't really learn from that for many years. I think I'm just now learning that. Fast forward a few years, I've gotten over my OCD-ness, most of it. However, I still, up to lately, have had a strain of perfectionism. I have to be right all the time. I have to make things perfectly. I have to be perfectly creative. I have to be a perfect writer. I have to be a perfect organizer. I have to be a perfect decorator. I have to be a perfect chef. I have to be a perfect anything I pursue is pursued wholeheartedly and with an aim to be the greatest it can possibly be. This poses some problems because that aim for perfection has stopped me from doing a lot of things which I might have done otherwise. I'm adventurous and I'm ambitious. It's very frustrating whenever you try to do something perfectly and you can't pull it off. So I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, inspirational, entrepreneurial, self-motivating idea podcasts, and reading books and things, and listening to people who are older and wiser than I am. And I'm learning something about failure and mistakes. I used to think that living a life of no regrets would be making no mistakes, doing things perfectly. I would look at people who made mistakes, like getting into debt, that limited their future effectiveness and their future happiness. And I thought, I'm never going to do that. If I don't do that, then nothing bad will happen to me, or I will be great, or I will come to the end of my days and I will feel fulfilled and happy and all this wonderful stuff. If I don't make mistakes, if I do things the right way. Whenever I was little, I was determined I was not going to be like the typical teenage girl that you see on television, obsessed with boys, wearing lots of makeup, spending an hour to choose her wardrobe for the day. I was not going to be like that. I was going to wear sloppy clothes if I wanted to. I wasn't going to worry about makeup, and I certainly wasn't going to worry about boys. I was going to read classic literature. I was going to excel through my studies and my education. I was going to focus on things that mattered. I was going to be practical, I was going to be sensible, and most of all, I was going to do all the right things. And it's kind of worked up to now. Still living at home, so I haven't had a lot of the pressures that I know would one day wreck that kind of dream, that kind of ambition to be almost perfect. I know I can't be perfect, but closer is better, right? The closer you are to perfection, the better you are. I mean, that's my goal. I think everybody should strive to be the best they can be. But does that necessarily mean doing everything the right way the first time? Does it mean never failing? And the more I listen, the more I learn, the more I realize failure is not always a bad thing. Failure is always an option. Failure, as long as it isn't fatal failure, like you die or your family falls apart or something like that, if it's just an idea gone wrong or a project that never gets off the ground, it's okay. It's a stepping stone. It can be used to further some other dream, some other thing that you're doing. It's not necessarily a deal breaker. It's not necessarily something that you're going to regret. So, in a nutshell, I've learned that a life of no regrets is not necessarily a life where you never make mistakes, you never fail, nothing ever goes wrong. It's a life where you take every chance that presents itself, and more than taking chances, you make chances. You make opportunities, and you do adventurous things, and you seize life, and you enjoy yourself, and you strike out into foreign waters without necessarily knowing that you're going to be successful, without necessarily knowing on the front end what it's going to be like and if it's going to succeed or not. And that's an amazing viewpoint. It's an amazing reversal of my original idea, which was you have a life of no regrets because you've never done anything wrong. And, that sounds very naive, but that's how I've felt for years. The least amount of failure is the most amount of success. Now I'm realizing that that's not really true. So if there's anybody out there watching this who's ever had that same idea that somehow failure limits you or failure is a very bad thing, I challenge that. I challenge that thinking, because that kind of thinking is not going to get you anywhere. That kind of thinking is going to keep you up on the diving board with your toes just over the edge and will never let you dive. That kind of thinking is going to limit you. That kind of thinking is going to make you pass up chances. That kind of thinking could potentially ruin your life. If you never want to make a mistake, if you never want to fail, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? So if I wait to make my first video when I have an entire studio with the perfect lighting and the perfect microphone and the perfect everything, I doubt I'll ever make a video. So here I am with my horrible equipment and my unscripted blog post. And I'm just saying, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid. Just go for it. Don't be afraid of failure. Try to learn from failure. Use failure as a stepping stone to something